As we expected, an offensive outburst.
Of course.
9 goals. We all had the over. Nothing to see here. No shock at all, right? That's exactly what we all had on the bingo card. Hey, everybody, welcome to Afterburner. It's Boom along with Kent Wilson. Happy to do it again with you here, Kent, on a night where we've got some things to talk about. I was kind of after 4 goals in 4 games. I didn't necessarily
dreading
think,
it.
Yeah, you just don't know. And then 4 goals in the first period. Sounds about right. We'll get into it. This program is a presentation of Bet365. It's the world's largest sports betting platform. Get that account open if you haven't already. And when you do, use the promo code NATION and get the app on your phone. Play along, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. And, as we're wont to do during the course of the show, if you've got a comment in the YouTube chat as we go live, throw some money down. We'll take the money, get it to the Youth Centers of Calgary, and then, within good reason, within the boundaries of good taste, we'll have those comments for you on the show. So Flames 6-3. They get 4 in the first, 2 for Connor Zary. They end up with 6 on the night, including a Coronado empty netter. And it was blood from a stone for about 5 or 6 days, 4 games, could not catch a break, couldn't find it, and then all the floodgates blew open today. And I know we'll get into it. This was not a masterpiece for either side.
No.
So the first period specifically was it was a comedy of errors back and forth. It made for exciting hockey. Shitty hockey could be fun sometimes.
I'll take it.
That's what we had, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when's the last time they scored 4 goals in the first period?
Yeah,
Not this year. So definitely have to take it. But yeah, some pretty egregious goaltending to start, especially on the Philly side. And then, I asked people I was watching the game with, like, is there something wrong with the ice? Because both teams can't handle the puck. They can't make a pass. They're giving it away at the blue line, and then the other team's giving it away at their blue line. It's just like, okay, well, I'll take it. I'll take the 4 goals for sure.
Yeah, and for a few, well, I guess for a couple of guys, for Huberdeau, he's been getting points. It was not a great night for him. He ends up with 2 assists for whatever that's worth, and for Morgan Frost, he gets a couple of assists, which had to feel good for him. Zary with his first multi-goal game, he gets that in the first period. I don't know if it's a monkey off the back, but he had not really done much since coming back from the injury post Four Nations face-off. Good for him not to have to languish for too long, And interesting, what did you think when you saw Huska start him on the 4th line?
I wondered how long it would last. Huska's done that a couple times this year. He had Coronado back there a while. He actually had Coronado back there for a little bit in this one too. So he seems to like to challenge the kids and say, play your way off. So, and then he rewarded him pretty quickly too. He moved right up the rotation. So not too bothered with it, to tell you the truth.
And I was with you. We were some Pospisil's here, and you've moved like Pospisil on a 4th line to keeps things simple. And I guess, I've not played in the NHL, but I wonder from a coaching standpoint if it's that Nuke LaLoosh in Bull Durham. Don't think, just throw. If you're on the 4th line, you know what your job is. Don't think about making plays or is this. Just go out there and skate and go at it.
Simple and
right. And he scored a goal on that line and scored a goal not on that line. Oddly enough, the first one, the tip that he gets, he was with Kadri on that first period, because then Kadri would get it. And it was right after that, right? It was not long after where he skates into it and
neutral zone too.
Right?
There we go.
Oh, you're going around me. Okay. Yeah, I suppose.
And that was the first half of this game. Just all right. Well,
yeah. So that made it 2-0. And then I guess when things are going your way, now he's back on the 4th line. He's out there with Lomberg and Rooney, who just really seem.
There we go. That's Rooney. Yeah, it's definitely take it for Zary. He's got nothing. Might as well. Flames kind of needed a night like this too, right after just 0-0-1-0. So, nice to have the puck go in.
And you know what? It's not like they didn't make it interesting, because that's the end of the night for Andersson, and I think it was just under 30 seconds after they make that swap. and Fedotov comes in. This I want to go over this with you. I want Warner to tell me what's going on here, because it looks like the Flames defense pair is in a good spot.
Ups where he completely missed the guy, and he turned into a 2-on-1. And then he was going to take a pretty blatant penalty on that play too. They scored, but yeah, that was I've watched it a couple times, and I don't know where he's leaning, what he's thinking on that break-in, but yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to necessarily pick away.
They won, so
they won, yeah. And as far as if it's monkeys off backs, it's got to feel good for Zary to get one, and then kind of the same thing for Yegor Sharangovich. To this point, almost a year to forget as he starts the season injured, and he's just really not had any kind of momentum.
Well, like you say, I haven't seen anything from him. Like if he's not taking that shot, if he's not challenging the defense with his release, which he really hasn't this year. To the degree I've wondered if he's been injured, if there's something wrong with him, because he's not getting shots on net at all. And you're right, he disappears. He's a fairly one-dimensional player, and it's a good dimension when it's on. He definitely last year proved to have one of the better shots in the league, but we haven't seen it this year. He got more engaged after that goal, so there's maybe some hope that that broke him out a little bit, because he hit a post later with that release. But we'll see, because you're right, it's been such an up and mostly down. He's had a couple of those, oh, is he back? And then no, he's not back. So we'll see.
And I think he's like a lot of guys that are younger. I'll classify him still as a younger player. You can see that they kind of wear it, that when things are going well, they're energized and it feels good to score. And when it's not going their way, you can just see how out of sorts they are. And he had been, even after scoring the goal there, there was not a lot of, he did not take a lot of pleasure in that, but hopefully it's something that he could build on. I want to tell you about the Derek Newman Group, with CIR Realty. Whether you're buying or selling, Derek's a Calgary guy, knows the city, knows everybody in the city, would love to help you out. Finding homes that aren't even on the market yet. That's where he is. That's where he does some of his best work. What kind of a home are you looking for? What kind of neighborhood? If you're driving around looking for for sale signs, let Derek do all that work for you. If it's your first time buying a home, or you've been buying and selling and doing it all, he's a good partner to have. 403-619-6661. You can email dnewman@cirrealty.ca, or even go to the website, Derek Newman Group. That's 2 R's, dereknewmangroup.com. Let Derek put his network to work for you. I want to ask you about Rasmus Andersson. We're a couple days from the trade deadline, and I know we've talked all year about, man, trade for him, you get 2 playoff runs, and I don't think it's going to happen. They then have an opportunity in the offseason to sign him to an extension or take him into the year. I mean, I guess that's a conversation for tomorrow or the day after or the summer. What have you seen from Andersson's game? And we've talked about it on the other show. Started the year scoring goals. He was looking in, the fans through the glass, and he was really feeling it. And it felt like this is going to be, not that he needs a breakout year, but this is going to be a big year for Rasmus Andersson. And then I don't know if he's trying to do too much, if he's playing, if the minutes are too much, if the pairings, because there's been guys, it's been a rotation for sure on that back end. I just wonder with Andersson, because it does seem like he's struggled the last 25, 30 games.
Yeah, to say the least. So what happened after like the first 10 games? You had Miramanov and Uyghur, and they were awful actually. And so they kind of moved them down the rotation a little bit, and then they moved Ball and Andersson up, and they've been facing the tough minutes for a lot of the season, and it seems to be getting on top of Andersson especially. I looked at his numbers a little while ago, and he has great numbers when he's with Uyghur, which has happened on occasion. And with everyone else, he has sunk like a stone. He's not very mobile. That's always been an issue with him. And if he's tired, on sort of layered on top of that, you might start to see him struggle the way he is now, right? So the offense hasn't been there, that can happen to defensemen, right? You can go through dry spells, but the defense hasn't really been there. Like tonight, that first period is a bit of a debacle, right? Mm-hmm. And there's been periods of that with him, and even when he's had Ball, who's probably the best partner he's had this year, there's been layers of struggles all over the ice. So it's going to be a tough decision for the team, because I know they really like him. He's a super likable guy. He seems to be popular in the room. He seems to like their organization, the city, which is a big plus. But how does he age at 30 years old plus, right? Because you're not going to get him for 2 or 3 years. He's going to ask for six plus,
to 8
right?
for
So,
sure. Yeah, it's one of those things that obviously fans and media people talk a lot about. To your point, it almost feels like if a deal doesn't get done and they take him into next year, and you hope it's not, but if this is kind of how it's trending, it's going to become a very easy decision and conversation to have, that this is just not somebody you can commit 6, 7, or 8 years to if you're the Calgary Flames. I don't think, because I'm with you. The mobility, he doesn't look like a guy that's going to be all that fleet-footed as he hits into his mid-30s here.
yeah, and it's extremely rare to have most players be highly functional past, 35, right? It's a very small group of guys who make it there. So, the kind of bet that you're making is you're hoping he's actually better than he has been this year, the guy he was maybe last year or the year before, for 3 or 4 years, and then you have to ride out the rest of the contract, basically, which I don't know if the franchise should be taking that bet at this point.
There's no way he gets dealt on Friday, is there? I just can't. Like, I'll say this. Well, we talk about, we're not talking about him in very glowing terms, but I think we're talking about him in the macro. If you can get him for this year's playoff run and take some of those minutes back and have him maybe slotted correctly and maybe have a better partner, he's a hell of a player. And if you even if you eat a little bit of money, his cap hit is already very manageable. He looks to me like a guy that would be tremendous for someone in a long playoff run if they were able to get him. But
if he's a 4D and he has his partners mobile and it's a really good team, that's a player that slots in really easily on a competitive club, right? Do the Flames want to trade him? I don't get the sense that they do. I think someone would have to roll in with quite the offer. Like, you can't turn this down. And maybe they consider it, but yeah.
The other part of it is, too, with another couple of points tonight, they now move up to 67 in the wild card spot. That's 2 better than the Canucks and 3 clear of the St. Louis Blues. Blues have actually played 1 more game than have the Flames. Both of those teams, we'll look at them coming up in our bets, but both of those teams play tomorrow. And Vancouver is not playing great, and Quinn Hughes is injured, and St. Louis is kind of up and down. They go on hot spells, and then who knows what they're going to do at the deadline. They just seem to think they're in it all the time. So they're always, for right now, to make a trade that would make sense for the Flames in Erasmus Andersson, it would have to be futures draft picks, and you would be almost gutting the blue line for this year. It's already showing some holes. There's some warts there with him, with him there. So I guess we'll wait and see on that.
Happens.
I don't either. And then we get to the off season and see how that goes.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Origin Brewing, great sponsor, proud sponsors of this program, and of course have supplied us with some fantastic beverages. Origin Malting and Brewing out of Strathmore, a 5th-generation family farm, growing barley, some of the best barley in the world, and breweries from the U.S. They're saying, we think your barley's the best. Your malting we want it. And they said, if it is that good, maybe should we think about brewing beer? Maybe we should. So let's keep the best product, the prime barley, for ourselves, and that's what they've been doing now out in Strathmore and the new location in Calgary, 943 28th Street Northeast, the Origin Calgary, the OC. You can get your growlers, your take-home cans. They've got the tap room there, and of course, they're still growing strong. 60 Spruce Park Drive in Strathmore, and we are very pleased and we're tickled with our Barn Burner Blonde and, of course, the Afterburner Pale Ale, which you see just above Kent there. The cans. You got to see them.
You tried that yet?
Yeah, well, we'll get some in you. We will get some in you.
Do it.
That's that is for sure. So, Origin Brewing and Malting Company, Hilton family, great folks. Everyone's going to talk about Friday and what to expect. I don't see. Well, let's throw Brandon Carlo's name out there. It was one that kind of got Frank Seravalli retweeted it today. Brandon Carlo, not a young guy, not an old guy, but he's big, hulking defenseman.
big.
Would he help?
Yeah.
He would.
Yeah.
But if Boston is in sell mode, again, it's less about Carlo. It's the match between Boston and Calgary where I find the issue. I think.
Yeah. What does Boston want from Calgary for Carlo? I don't know.
Because I don't want to see the Flames giving up futures.
Right.
Don't give up draft picks or young players to bring in this guy. But it
Yeah,
feels
is
like
it a
that's what Boston's going to. They trade
fifth-rounder?
Frederick. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It's you don't want to lose a meaningful young prospect for like Carlos, what, 28?
Yes,
I think at this
somewhere
point
in
he's
there,
signed for $4 million or something for a couple of years. It's that's a nice little piece to insert, I guess. But
yeah.
him and Zadorov have really actually struggled pretty badly in Boston. I know Carlos had better years with better players, which makes total sense. But yeah, what did the Flames give up for Brandon Carlo? I really couldn't even guess what that package would be.
Yeah, it's the problem that I see with a lot of the potential trades. There's some attractive players out there. Bowen Byram, his name comes up out of Buffalo. They've talked about Dylan Cousins, but the Sabres are building. They're going to want not players for today, and I don't even know who would be. I mean, flip the script. Say it's a Casey Middlestat out of Colorado, and they're obviously in play now mode. Who are they going to be trading here? Are we talking Blake Coleman? Are we talking Sharangovich? I don't know, quite honestly. Even if there was a fit that made sense in terms of team trajectory, what teams would covet off of this Flames team right now?
Unless Boston wants Vladar back, but I don't think they do. So, I don't. You're right. I don't see it. It's really hard to match because the Flames are supposed to be rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to give up any of those players or prospects, probably, especially not for stopgap guys who are. I mean, maybe a Cousins, but now you're talking a major hockey trade, and it doesn't even have to happen at the trade deadline, right? So
that's kind of big game hunting. That's you're talking about top, but what you're hoping is a top line center.
Yeah,
a Kadri deal would be fascinating. Again, I think it's minuscule, the percentage,
right?
But you saw how he played for Colorado, and even on this team, I mean, he scores tonight. He's been getting points. We know how he can be in the playoffs. Yeah, for Toronto, he was a little overzealous and got suspended and maybe took some dumb penalties. But if the last time you saw him was with the Colorado Avalanche, and he was a force for them. Has he matured? Could he be?
Do they want him back?
Do they want him back? It's too bad because I feel like there are some deals to be made. If it's maybe it's got to be fantasy hockey and all that. But Nazem Kadri on the Calgary Flames, he's a good player. They don't need him at this point in his career. So
not at
he
his
deserves
price
to be
for that
on
long.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but they're in the mix now. So do they want to lose Kadri? Is the question. So it is complicated.
Do you have faith in this team? Because you look at the top of the standings, if they were to finish in the second wild card, because I don't think they're going much higher than that. Colorado's in that second spot. I don't think they're going to move much higher. You're talking about the Winnipeg Jets in round number 1. Maybe that doesn't scare you. What are I don't know. What kind of realistic shot would you give this team if they do get in against a team like Winnipeg?
20%, 30, maybe.
Yeah,
because and a lot of that's Wolf, but then you have one of the other best goaltenders at the other end of the rink in Winnipeg. But just the total lack of offense is such a killer for this team. Like they got 6 tonight, which is great, but I can't remember the last time they scored 6 goals in a game, actually. So it's a tough. It's tough. I did some math the other day, and I looked at if the Flames had a median goal save percentage at even strength, not even overall this year. Median meaning like 16th overall. Their goal differential would have been minus 42 or something, which would have been third worst in the West. So it's a it's a huge thing for Dustin Wolf to have gotten them into this thing, and they're if they make it in, it's because of Vancouver's going to outsuck them somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with that team or Elias Pettersson or anything, but I'll cheer for them. But they're going to be a super long shot if they make it into the first round.
And maybe it's not the worst thing in the world if they get in. You don't like their chances. And we've talked about it so much. I'm almost, the fatigue is already there for me. I won't lie to you about what Wolf is doing for this team. He has been so good. He's a difference maker on such a level. It's like he's a top first round pick that has fallen into your lap. You happen to draft him late.
Yeah.
And now what that does for your team as you try to rebuild, it's almost as though his play it's not going to allow you to fully bottom out. So how do you approach it if you're Conroy and Iginla and the Flames? I don't know. Do you just continue to, if we can make a Flyers deal where we get some guys that fit in and it makes sense, then we'll do it. But it's a tricky spot.
Yeah, I think it may be accelerating the timeline somewhat because you're right. It's really tough to bottom out with one of the best goalies in the league. It's almost a curse for a bad team to have a goalie this good too early, right? So it may just be, can we get a Brandon Carlo? Can we get a Cousins in the next little while? And then can we sign a Rantanen or Marner like in the summer and like make a go of it because now we have this premier goaltender. None of that's guaranteed. It's not easy to trade for Cousins. It's not easy to sign a Rantanen, but that might be one of the paths they're looking at right now.
It's what it's one way to use those draft picks. You've accumulated a few, and you get more every year.
Lots
is
of
hard.
Cap space too, right?
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's the other thing I wonder about, because we saw the deal today with the Oilers with Frederick and eating of salary and that. Curious if there is going to be that sort of an opportunity. I know we keep saying that every deadline we kind of go into here with, is there going to be an opportunity to take a bad contract and get an asset, that sort of thing? It hasn't really materialized. I wonder if that too feels like a long shot right now.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen. You're right, because they've had a couple of opportunities to do it, and to some degree, it has to be there. You have to have a willing trade partner to do it, but the Flames don't seem to really step into that divide very often or ever, as far as I can recall.
Isn't it funny? I mean, they have, in some ways, what a lot of teams would kill to have, which is what looks to be a top tier young goaltender, and a team that more nights that they weren't great against Tampa Bay. I thought they worked their tail off in whatever it was game 4 of a road trip against Carolina. I like their effort tonight. I don't know what they're going to have in Dallas, but they give you an honest effort. They're pretty disciplined. And they get great net minding. How many teams would love to be able to say, yeah, our guys lay it on the line, play for their coach. They're well coached. They're good students, and we get good net minding more often than not. It's kind of a rare.
All you need to do is drop in that top line.
If you could just, they're just
probably good, right?
So devoid of high-end skill or what looks to be the promise of any of it really coming. I think we'll see what Parik is, and looks like there's some good draft picks coming, but
there's no McKinnon yet.
No.
There's no McDavid. There's no still waiting for that level of talent, and it's hard to, Cousins is when if you trade for Cousins, you hope he might become a number one center, but he's never going to be one of those guys, right?
No, it certainly doesn't seem that way. You got to win some trades. You got to find some guys deeper in the draft and hope that you're going to
pull another good draw, right?
and if you can lure a free agent, like you say,
right. We'll see.
Like a Cale Makar, maybe he'd love to come home. That'd be a signing, wouldn't it? That'd be all right. I'm curious and there's only a few guys that really know. But does Craig Conroy, when he calls Murray Edwards or gets a call from Murray, say, hey, look at us. We're in the playoffs, 2 points up on Vancouver and 3 up on St. Louis. The trade deadline's coming. I just wonder, how do you broach that's true, but we were thinking about selling. I wonder how that goes over. Maybe Murray is hockey savvy that way, but I do wonder if a couple home dates and maybe, hey, let's take our shot against Winnipeg. I do wonder what that conversation, what the temperature is like from the ownership on down.
If I had to guess, it would be compete if you can, would be usually the message. And I don't think the impetus will be like go big whale hunting at the trade deadline. And
Yeah.
I hope it isn't, because that would be foolish. But yeah, don't sell. Definitely don't sell at the deadline. See what you can do.
Yeah.
And then we'll take the summer as it comes, right? So that's definitely, if I had to put money down, that would be the tact I think they take.
Let's take a look at the road ahead. It's a presentation of Platinum Mitsubishi, Calgary's number one destination for the upgraded 2025 Outlander, the refreshed flagship 7-seater from Mitsubishi Motors. 2025 Outlander, first ever vehicle with the audio system. You go right from the base model all the way to the top of the line. Bam. Yamaha audio, new for 2025. Brand name audio system right from the floor up. The ventilated front seats are an option. We got the brown leather seats, the 12.3-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay, Android, and they are going to be at the Auto Show at the BMO Center March 13th to 16th. Come take a look at the new 2025 Outlander. Receive a $1,000 coupon to use at Platinum Mitsubishi on any new 2025 model Outlander, Eclipse Cross, or RVR. Get into the best backed cars in the country with a 10-year powertrain warranty at Platinum Mitsubishi, 2720 Barlow Trail Northeast here in Calgary. Mike Gould, he loves the Mitsubishi. Loves
He sure
them.
does.
Yep. It's not bronze Mitsubishi, not silver, not even gold. It's platinum.
Yeah. He's always trying to pitch me on him.
Yeah, as he should. Yeah, he's a good boy. Yeah, he's a good boy.
Right.
And you know what? He wants good things for you. So that's why he would do that. That's why he would do that.
Enough.
The road ahead, the road trip has not quite come to an end. It's close. They will finish in Dallas on Thursday. Stars are good. They I was watching their highlights again. Man, Wyatt Johnston is such a player. I think he's still 21 years old. He went around Dougie Hamilton tonight like he was standing still and then scored on Markstrom. And then you've got Hintz and you've got they are going to be a handful. And it feels like one of these years they're going to break through and get all the way to I don't know, they were in the cup final, in the bubble or whatever it was. But anyway, that's what's waiting. The final exhausted game of this road trip. We'll see the Flames in Big D on Thursday. The Brain Trust, the Ginlas and Conroys of the world and all their staff, they're going to stay in Dallas as the team will come home and they will execute their trade deadline day work from their hotel in Dallas. Meanwhile, the team gets ready. Tight turn, long road trip back home late Thursday into Friday morning. They've got Montreal on Saturday. Wednesday, after a bit of a break, they have got the Vancouver Canucks, which could be a big one. And then on the 14th, a week past this Friday, they've got the Colorado Avalanche. Again, we kind of call it the gauntlet because of being on the road and it's tough teams. Habs are below them and the Canucks are below them. But the Avs, the Leafs, the Devils, and Rangers are formidable. And I know the Rangers are kind of in that same mix right now, but
they should be better.
So I don't know if the gauntlet continues or if it's over, but the work is not done. It's commendable that they're at the spot they're at this point of the season to be 61 games in and in a playoff spot. I don't know how many of us thought that was actually going to be the case, but they're not done yet.
Didn't. Yep. It's and again, part of it is just Vancouver. I don't know what's happening out in Vancouver. Just bizarre implosion. Now they got Quinn Hughes out. They should sell at the deadline because I don't know what else they can do.
Yeah, because we were looking this morning. Now I think it's 4 points. So the Flames are in a playoff spot, have a 2-point cushion there, but are, depending on what happens on the out-of-town scoreboard, still 4 points roughly being in the bottom 10 and getting one of those. I don't know what that means. That can obviously, as teams sell at the deadline, there might be some teams whose records kind of fall off here moving forward. But you're talking about two very different things. getting into the playoffs or being in the top 10 of the draft. And I know that everybody's pretty split on what they would like that to be.
Just don't do neither of those things. Don't miss the playoffs and not be in the bottom 10. That would just thread the needle into worst possible situation, right?
It's never happened, has it?
I'm cheering for one of those things, not the middle thing.
Pick a lane and go with it.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at our 365. Bet365. Largest sports betting platform in the world. Get that account open. The app is awesome. You're going to love it. You get in there. The Kuzmenko paid tonight. The anytime goal for Andrei Kuzmenko. I think it was plus 300. It would have paid nicely. So congrats if you did have the Kuzmenko anytime goal. Here's tomorrow's schedule.
He played pretty well too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about him.
Yeah.
And it's nothing new. And I don't think it's going away. There you see it. 5 games tomorrow. Senators chasing down a playoff spot. The Caps and Rangers. Rangers are fighting. Leafs Golden Knights should be a banger. And then you've got the Canucks and the Ducks. The Ducks are, I shouldn't say well back, but I mean it's going to be some work for them. The Kings are in a good spot, but it's specifically about the Canucks and the Blues because, as we said, after both of those teams are idle tonight, Flames have 67 points. Then it's Vancouver on the outside with 65 and the Blues with 64. And that game tomorrow will be the game in hand, if you want to call it that, for the Canucks. They will then join the Flames with 61 games played. And the Blues have already played 62 games. So we are scoreboard watching, I suppose, is how it goes.
Begins.
So that's on the cooker. And let me just... LA Kings plus nothing really shocking there as far as the odds are concerned. It's you've brought it up a couple times. What a horrendous year for the Canucks after what they had last year. Rick Tocchet comes in, they get to within a game of the West Conference Final.
Yeah,
and then the goalie's hurt again, and Miller has to go, and Quinn Hughes can't stay healthy, and Elias Pettersson. We talked about it today. I saw the stat. In 9 straight games, I think he's got 1 or less shot on net. He's not shooting it. He's not getting points. He's not making plays. He is completely out of sorts. And all of those things combined, you talk about kind of a miracle that the Flames are where they're at. Vancouver's pretty lucky to be where they're at with all the distractions and issues that they've had to deal with.
Yeah, it's definitely the strangest season I've seen out of the team for a while. Public rift in the dressing room, having to trade one of your best players for kind of peanuts. And then one of your other best players who was on a superstar track for years disappearing completely. It's to the degree, like, is it something physical with him? Is he fighting something chronic, or is he that much in his own head? Because if he is, they may have to move him too.
A lot of people feel they should have done that in the first place. And maybe they didn't have a choice, and maybe that's the other guy. I think we were talking to Frank. He said, "Who is going to trade for this guy? What kind of deal exists where a team will say, sure, we'll take a shot on $11 million every season of Elias Pettersson?" You can't have that not turn out. That's kind of you better be damn sure.
Big bet.
Yeah, and for a lot of the general managers, they're just not going to take that kind of swing. It could be career
not
suicide.
With the guy playing the way he is now.
Sure.
Like he's barely a third liner this season, which is shocking, right? He is a premier talent when he's on, and was for years. So the bet is, if he's only in his head, maybe if you can convince me, we can talk about it. But if he's got blown knees or something, like, that's it. Nobody's touching that contract ever.
Out of town scoreboard. Islanders beat the Jets tonight 3-2. Could that be a Brock Nelson sweater swap coming up? It seems to be much talked about. Brock from War Road, Minnesota, very close to home, very close if he wanted to. I guess the Jets have to decide if they want to give up more picks for the Toffoli's and Monahans and Stastnys and after sitting on his hands for a lot of years. Yeah, I mean, Cheveldayoff's taken some swings, and you wonder if this year he just decides, screw it. We got a good team. Maybe some depth, but we're just going to go and see how this works.
Should do it. Yeah.
Lightning, they continue to roll. They beat the Blue Jackets 6-3. Carolina, again, a 1-goal win. They beat the Red Wings 2-1. Sharks winning 6-2. The Preds beat the Bruins 6-3. Preds don't beat anybody.
Boston. Jeez.
What a year.
Yeah,
what a year. And still underway. I apologize if people are listening to this. It's like, yeah, we know the scores. Wild and Kraken are scoreless. The Devils are trailing the Stars by a score of 3-1. Avs up on Pittsburgh 1-0. And the Ducks are beating Edmonton in the second by a score of 5-1.
Oh my God.
What did you make of their move?
Yeah, recently. Holy cow.
Yeah. Leon, the only goal scorer in that game right now for the Oilers, is 45th on the power play. They bring in Trent Frederick today. They get some salary eaten by Boston, and then it was New Jersey, and they moved some things around and some picks. But how do you feel about their goaltending?
Yeah, I wouldn't feel great if I was them. I don't know what the point of that trade was myself. Doesn't really plug any real gaps in that roster. So, fill your boots. But yeah, I would be looking for more goaltending, better defense, personally.
Yeah. And we got to do a little. Hey, it's the super chat.
There it is.
There it is. Youth Centers of Calgary, the direct beneficiaries. You got a comment, you'd like to get it on the show, by all means, put it in there. Just a little bit of, just a sprinkle, like Darren right there. 279. Zeri played a great game, don't you think? And then he wants the all right. 55! For no reason, but it's there. You paid your $2.70, pay your $1, you get to holler. Yeah, I like Zeri most nights.
Most nights, yeah.
Very rarely do you have complaints about what he gives you. So for him to get scored and feeling good again, coming back from the injury and all of that, and he doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to pout. There maybe would have been some guys who looked at the roster in the morning and the lineup sheets.
Screw this. Yeah.
Fine,
no, he got out there.
Well, you're gonna get what you get out of me. He did kind of spend a good chunk of the night there. 15-33 in terms of ice time. Had the 2 goals in the first period, 3 shots, no power play time. Like him a lot.
Yep.
Happy that he's back and feeling it a little bit. Do we give any freebies away? Well, I'll throw this one out. You kind of answered it already. For Kent, will Conroy opt to sit on his hands trade deadline day?
Probably. I mean, the thing with trade deadline day, it always depends on what's the opportunity, right? You don't know who's going to call you. Maybe someone calls, like we said, with you can't turn this down offer for Andersson or something, or Kadri. But I think their preference is going to be do very minor things. Maybe move a Rooney or someone, a Miramanov, who they're not really playing anyways, right? So if someone calls you about those guys, yeah, sure, I'll take whatever you got. But otherwise, I don't see moving mountains or anything.
And hey, we've kind of joked about it. The Flames are looking to move Miramanov. Well,
you don't say.
I bet he's available. That we'll see what the pick ends up being, but in that Hannafin trade, but the Miramanov
future considerations,
right? Yeah, it could be one of those things. Yeah, and Connie's Connie though. He will look at it and say if there's a deal that makes sense and it's not going to sacrifice the future, and if it can help us here in the next 2 months. The coach got us to this point. The players got us to this point. Our goalie can win us some games. Maybe we can do a little bit of something, provided the cost isn't outrageous or just does not make any sense. Did you like the Flyers trade by the way? Because they give up a second to bring in Frost and Farabee has struggled, but I think that there's some game.
I liked him tonight.
Yeah.
This was the first game where I noticed Farabee. It's like, okay, something there.
I think I'm trying to remember if it was the Carolina game where he fanned on it a couple times on one-time shots. You hope that he's starting to get close, right? You start to get a little bit closer to finally getting the puck, having it go in for you before it starts going in. But it's a couple guys who are already in their mid-20s. You gave up a second rounder. There's some money owing to Farabee. It's not nothing. How did you, as far as where this team is at and where they're going, did you like that trade?
For the Flyers?
Well, yeah, for you, for the Flames, I suppose.
The Flames, I liked it because I like Frost a little bit more than Farabee, and it seemed to be trading up in terms of asset value, right? So second rounder is a second rounder. Pelche, I actually really liked the way he was playing before it, but he was on waivers just a few months before that and cleared. And then, Kuzmenko was basically a non-asset at that point with the way he was playing in Calgary. So, both of these guys are guys who can fit in the lineup, potentially get better and become part of the solution moving forward. Or if they don't work out, they do seem like guys who could be flipped for something better down the road. So from the Flames perspective, I always did like that trade.
Yeah. Conversation for another day, but I'm with you. I like Frost. If you had a little bit more skill around him, I'd like to see what he would be able to do with it. Kevin Ball needs a contract. You can talk to Dustin Wolf, obviously, about getting a contract done. That'll be some interesting conversations. The offseason, even though it's not about all the UFAs from last year for Conroy, there's some work to do for sure to see how he navigates that. That's probably good. I think that's probably good. Flames win it by a score of 6-3. One more game. They will take on Dallas, and then they will come home against the Habs. Always fun when the Habs are in town. Were you a Habs guy? Did you have anyone in your family as you grew up that were big Hab honks?
Yeah. My uncle is an obnoxious Habs fan. So even to this day, if they suffer some sort of humiliating defeat, I'll let them know.
Yeah.
And same, if I see
it's a
he
two-way
sees me after the Flames.
Yeah, that's how that goes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Kent. Always good seeing you, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
Hey, Jack, great job, buddy. Jack's
thank you. Yeah.
Have you got the air fryer fired up? Are you making some
those
dry
awesome.
ribs or something?
No, I don't have it fried up yet, but I was thinking about it.
Yeah, I think you should. You deserve it. You deserve it.
That'll do it.
See you, buddies.